Right. What I'm gonna do now is ask the first question. So, when and how did you discover DSP?
It was, I don't remember exactly what, like, I remember seeing, like, I think one of his videos, I think Sunny V2 did a thing on him years ago, and then he made another one, and that popped into my feed, and then I watched that, and then the algorithm just started feeding me, like, the tractor stuff.
Yeah.
And I just kind of started watching from there.
Right. Okay. Was there any particular detractor that you watched more than anyone else?
Early on, it was probably Soma. A lot of his, I liked his editing style, and also he had so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of, I just liked the presentation of it.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, and it's too bad he's, it's another victim of the copyright shit.
Oh, God. We might get into that in a moment. Let me see. Okay, well, you answered it already. Were you ever a legitimate fan? Did you ever enjoy his content, unironically?
Not really unironically, more of like early on was more of like hey, look at the little, regard going, yeah, he's a piece of crap, but it's whatever, it's another idiot on the internet. Yeah. But then over time, as more stuff came up, and it's one thing to look back and see, when all the old videos of old stuff, it's not live, but then as I was seeing, I would say probably the real turning point was when he went off on everyone about that Street Fighter cookbook.
Oh, yeah.
Because regardless of whether or not it was a good idea or not, it just his visceral reaction to it, to people just literally just trying to help. I mean, it was his mod who brought it up. And this was during the Twitch, fundraiser-ish, controversy. Or, when he was trying to get all the money because of using Twitch.
Yeah.
And I remember I showed it to my friend, the one who's been on stream a couple of times with me. And he was he couldn't believe it. And he put it perfectly. He said, I can't believe he would talk that way to his fans.
Right.
And that was kind of now fuck this. Fuck this guy.
We all had that feeling. I was the same. I watched him in the beginning, and I tried to reach out to him. And he snaps at me the same way he snaps at everyone else. And I was thinking, you're allowed to get away with this and still be paid by them? It never made sense to me.
And also I knew next to fuck all about streaming before I even saw Phil.
Same.
But even when I would bring up him to my other friend who's more into that kind of stuff. And he was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why does he have a tip counter? No one does that. Why is he begging for tips? Everyone just uses, the other things. And no one constantly brings out, I kept bringing all this stuff. He's like, no, nobody does that. Because I didn't know. I'm like, is this shit normal? No. He's like, no.
To this day, he's the only one that I see doing that. It's just as vulgar now as it was then, but, he seems to know better. Okay. Next question. Once again, thank you to everybody in the chat, and thank you to you, Yourbeliefs, for being here. Let's see. What are his most annoying traits for you?
Jeez, how much time we got? I think the thing that annoys me, it's a mixed thing. That's part of why I can't even listen to him anymore. Because one of the things that really irks me is I'm one of those guys who, if I see something someone in pain or having problems with something, I immediately want to help them.
Yeah.
But or I want to see the solution. So the whole when he goes off about his computer and stuff, and he's like, oh, it's Windows 8, I can't do something like that. It's motherfucker. You're having all these issues. Your computer is 10 years old. Just fucking install Windows 10 on it. Right. It's free. That'll fix 90%. And he's like, I need a new computer. You don't need a new computer, you fuck. Or maybe you do, but at least do this thing first. And and even with review tech trying to go and help him.
Yeah.
You know, and then having that issue, and it's like, Christ.
I know.
It's more. I think it's more of just his inability to just go and try to improve things, or like make any fundamental changes. It just never seems to. You know, like I have no patience for blatant stupidity, as I call it.
Indeed.
Like when there's no, like, you know, sometimes you don't know all the facts or things like that, and it's wrong to rush to judgment. But when you do have all the facts and they're still doing this dumb thing, it's like, no, then fuck you. You're just an idiot at this point.
Agreed. Okay. What is the one worst thing, the one worst incident you've ever seen him commit?
The one that gets me the most, and the thing too is like with the big like pig-splaining of like the pig web of lies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who knows if it's even true, but like I think like the whole thing with him and his mom, like taking the money to pay the taxes that he didn't pay, and then like, you know, swearing, oh, I'll migrate off of streaming when clearly he had no intention of it, just him bailing out. Because I mean, you know, like I said, for those who don't know, you know, I lost my mother, you know, a couple years ago.
Same.
And so like, if I could never bring myself to do it, no matter how much shit I had going on. Like, if I had legit fucked my life over, I would not have begged her for money to bail me out like that.
Right.
Or rather, I wouldn't do it based off of a lie.
Of course.
Like, you know, it's one thing, obviously, yeah, go to your parents for help, that's one thing, even if it is self-inflicted, but to go and have it based off of that conditional and having that clearly not being what's going to happen. And even like the fact, I mean, even her, I'm sure she knew deep down. Like, it's like, I'm sorry, you need 10 years to migrate off of this? Like, it's not even going to take the world 10 years to convert to USB-C. You're telling me it's going to take 10 years for you to get a new fucking job?
That's all that meant. A 10-year plan, in my mind, was her saying to him, get her job.
Realistically, it's a 10-week plan, 10-month plan at the most, because, okay, you could argue, well, I got to get my, you know, resume in order, get my shit in order, figure out, like, you know, what the best job thing to go on, because you can't go into, you know, that, it would all be entry level anyways. So,
we're what?
he's got to probably clean up some shit, too.
5 years in now, or something? I'm not sure. Time's ticking. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Have you ever caught yourself being angrier about his actions than you should be? Have you felt like, oh, this guy's pissing me off just a little bit too much, and I really should just back away?
I mean, currently the whole copyright, you know, thing going on, where it's just him or someone acting on his behalf, you know, striking. I mean, it's one thing to strike videos that are just archived stuff of like your worst things, since you could make the argument like it's really not fair use because you're not altering the material, you're just like cutting stuff out of it. Like, you know, you can't just go and like upload the cantina scene in Star Wars. You know, your thing will be taken down. You could say, oh, it's just a part of it, but it's a part you didn't modify it at all. But when it's seeing like the clearly fair use stuff, like when it came out that he was the one who struck Super, I was like, okay, like just go fuck right off, you asshole. Because you kept saying like, you know, oh, well, I won't strike if it's clearly fair use. Like those ones were clearly fucking fair use.
Right.
So at that case, I was just like, you know what, just go. And also because now, like the thing you're showing now, like what's to stop him from? Because clearly him or whoever is doing on his behalf don't care. I mean, and it's also weird. I find it weird how it's only there's clearly other people where, like, what makes one person more strikeable than the other? I guess.
Good question.
Like, I mean, okay, obviously, yeah, the pure archives are probably easier to go after, but like, okay, so why hasn't not saying I don't even want to name names, but just, you know, it's like, okay, but this person got struck, but like this other guy's still making content. There's no problem there. Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't get this weird scattershot thing. I'm not saying I prefer that everything get nailed, but I just, you know, you can't even. wrap your head around the logic, and where you could say like, okay, well, it's only clip channels, so okay, just be more transformative, or oh, it's the other ones, or it's the mean ones about his past. So I don't know.
Well, the more he strikes, the less attention he has on himself. He might want less attention because of how embarrassing he's made things for himself, but at the same time, he's losing viewers. He's going to be losing things to talk about. His chat are going to tell him to stop complaining because everybody's gone. His channel is just going to die miserably without detractors.
The last thing Phil needs is more people's eyes on him.
Yeah.
Because there was no better evidence of that than side scrollers with Adam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anyone who just comes in out of the Goutverse and like just looks in can totally see like what bullshit this is.
See, this is why.
And all you need to do is piss off someone who has like a big following, or you know, or someone who flat out says like, you know what, this guy's an asshole and I'm going to take him down. Like not even a detractor, just someone who sees what's going on and is like, you know, fuck this guy.
Right, and that's why when I first heard he was doing an interview, I didn't believe it. I was thinking, well, like you said, the last thing he wants is more people watching him. But he seemed to be all for it. Like, yeah, I want to see.
Well, yeah, he's in a death loop because if he gets more viewers, he can't grow with his current base. Mm-hmm. But if he tries to get more viewers, more eyes will get on him, and you know, we all know the clientele of the Phil supporters. Mm-hmm. You know, they're the extreme minority of the other people who are the other eyes you're going to get. So, you know, you're going to get more bad than good probably if you try to throw your net out there.
Yeah, he's already dipped his toe in there and got bitten quite savagely. And
I mean, I don't think any of us expected. I think at best we expected like an okay interview.
Yeah.
No one expected them to fucking knock it out of the park like they did.
Right. We thought
even I like wasn't watching it at first. I ended up watching it days later because I was like I was at work and I'm like it's probably not going to be that good. And then I'm just looking at the chat like on like Discords and seeing like, oh, they brought up WWE champions. Oh, they're talking about the racism stuff, and I was like, holy shit. And then I'm like, oh, and like this is 5 fucking hours. Fuck. like Phil, what are you doing? And even they were trying to give him out. It's like that just proves how fucking like you know out of it he is, or how lacking of self-awareness. It's like, how can you not tell how awful this is going and you want it to keep going?
5 hours. Well, I expected 1 hour, maybe 2. But no, he
when it passed 3, I was like, okay, this will be over soon. You know, I can go and I can schedule. I was going to react to it that night, and then I'm like, fuck, it keeps going and going.
Yeah, that episode was so good. We needed that, and he needed that more importantly. Speaking of Adam and Craig, we'll get to that. We will get to that soon. But before we do that, the next question is also my favorite one. Is there anything positive about him? Any good thing that he ever did?
Well, what do you mean by good? Do you mean like good that like good for him? Why would I say good for him? I mean like good for him that wasn't like harmful, or like good for the people in general? Like, what do you mean by good?
Good as in good as in selfless for someone else. Something nice just to be nice that didn't benefit him.
I mean, maybe he has, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, nobody does. And
I mean, it's not like we can point back to any like, you know, charitable work he did or a fundraiser that he did. I mean, hell, technically, I've done more good than he has. I did a, you know, charity stream last year.
And
for breast cancer research. Has he ever done anything like that?
Nope. This is remarkable to me that I am now 8 episodes in, and when I ask that question, it's not a good response anytime. I'll just move on to the next one. Right. Have you ever wanted to reach out to him with advice?
Well, yeah, but that goes back to like my thing of, you know, seeing someone who needs help and being motivated to, but at the same time, it's like, but it's Phil, so yeah. No.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, like, you know, I could easily just be like, you know, bro, here's what to do about your fucking computer. Or like, bro, this is what you need to do about the copyright things. Or, you know, bro, this is how you can fix this thing. But it's like, what's the point, really?
Exactly.
Because at that point, you're touching the poo, and then, or also it's like, well, why are you helping him? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he wouldn't do it for me.
Of
Not
course.
that I'm asking for it, but he wouldn't do it for anyone.
Disgusting. Going back to Adam and Craig, was there anything that they didn't do that you would have?
I guess I would have. Well, I mean, because of my like tisms, like I have a whole bunch of questions I have for Phil, but they're not like the standard detractor things of like, you know, what happened to Project 7, what happened to this, like, you know, the common ones that he's never going to answer.
Okay.
Like, I want to ask the other ones, like, okay, bro, you talked about how you got doxxed years ago, and part of it was your phone number. Why the fuck did you not change your phone number? Like just like simple stuff like that. It's like, how could you, like, if my phone number got leaked over the internet, the absolute first thing I would do is get it changed.
Right.
It takes like, you know, what, like maybe like a day and $28. This thing got, you know, sent everywhere. And because of that, we've been able to confirm and do so much other shit. Like, he wouldn't have had the bank leak if his phone number wasn't known. That was part of the social engineering that they did.
Common sense.
You know, this number that got leaked, what, like almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be my thing. It's like, do you realize what was your thinking there? Like, there's that. And also, that was how they will confirm, because now we can find out if he has accounts on various services, because they use 2FA, and the thing is always the phone number. That's how we found out he was just in the lineup. That's how we were able to confirm WWE champions. All this stuff could have been hidden if he had taken 10 fucking minutes and $30 of his time to go and plug that.
$30? Yeah, that's a no.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff but they did get into quite a bit. Like, I kind of wish they had also got into more of the racism stuff, like, you know, all the anti-Asian stuff. I mean, I would have definitely gone on that, because, I mean, my wife is Chinese, and, you know, and when my kids, you know, they, unfortunately, I mean, they're half, they kind of look at, you know, they're a good blend, they got good looks from their mother. But even they've been witness to, like, you know, racism at their school, not necessarily directed at them, but they've seen it.
Yeah.
And honestly, when they describe it, it sounds like Phil.
Yes.
You know, like saying, like, the ching chong, in China they say ching chong, and, you know, like, it's what fucking middle schoolers are doing.
Right.
And like, you know, like, so, I was dumb and young. It's like, bro, you were in, like, your late 20s, early 30s. You know, and you're using the same humor as fucking middle schoolers.
He sounds just like them. All the kids I was at school with, when they were, like, around me or talking to me a certain way, he sounds no different to them. He was like those kids who would try to rub the skin off my arm just to see if I was the same color underneath or some shit like that. His delivery, the way he laughs at what he says, he sounds like he's straight out of the 80s. And it's tragic.
Yeah, and like, that's, like I said, you know, that would be like my thing. I was like, you know, how is this funny? Like, literally I have middle schooler, like I said, this is shit. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, like Mr. Words hurt, but I'm also kind of a realist of like, well, it's like this shit happens, and if you going and it's not funny. Like, I got nothing against racial humor or racist jokes, but they got to be fucking funny. It's like, okay, if you're gonna bring race into it, it's got to be fucking funny. Right. And this is not just saying random words and onomatopoeias. That ain't funny.
I'm somebody.
There's no thought behind it.
I'm someone that's a believer of what's the term? I'm somebody that says that it's all about the intent. You can say what you're gonna say, but the intent behind it is what matters.
Yeah, and he would still be doing, like, he's kind of like, he reminds me of what's his, like, you probably don't know this. Some of the guys in the audience might know. On the Howard Stern show, there was this guy, Sal the stockbroker, and he would constantly get in trouble for just making jokes that, like, are clearly not appropriate. And his boss finally said, like, Sal, here's the thing, like, when we are told or we tell you not to do this anymore, do you understand why we're telling you not to do it? Or do you understand because of the racist parts of it? I think it's really more that you are just not doing, or you're apologizing because we have told you that it's not good, and you know that we are smarter than you, and that you should just take a thing. You're not really learning anything. You're just going by the fact that, okay, people have told me that I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like this. I feel like it's the same way with him. And also, another big difference is Sal is actually genuinely talented and Phil's not.
Speaking of learning, do you think he will ever learn? What do you think it would take for him to learn the error of his ways?
I mean, I'm not saying that I want this to happen, but it would have to take something short, whether it's like something equivalent to like a punch to the face. I'm not saying I want him to get beat up, but like he needs like a massive humbling, like a public humbling, whether that's, like an Ethan Ralph thing where someone goes against, which I'm not advocating, or something to where like he gets knocked off YouTube. Like it has to be like a big thing.
Yeah. Like
not just like little cuts. It needs to be like you need to lose a limb, basically.
I agree. As my mother would say, if you don't hear, you're gonna feel, and somebody needs to make him feel. That's all I'll say on that. Is he ever going to get a job, or see out the rest of his days streaming until the end?
I mean, like, there's a lot of places to go before he needs to go for a job. I mean, even if he let's say DSP Gaming gets shut down, he still has, the other YouTube channels, because I don't know if they're going to nail him in one fell swoop. Although probably eventually he'd be wiped out from YouTube because of the, ban evasion rules now.
Yeah.
But then he could always still go back to Twitch and be there for a while. And if that doesn't work, I mean, we saw when LTG was kicked off, he went like everywhere. Like there's still a number of platforms. And if he's still just doing PayPal, he doesn't really need to worry about getting in their monetization programs. He can just always say, tip me with the link. So I think it would take a long time. And I can't think of anything to where, like, I'm not sure if he could have something greater than, like, the quote incident to where he would have to fall offline just because of, like, public ridicule or public hatred.
He doesn't save his money. He, I don't know what to tell you. He's quite happy where he is.
Yeah, and then, I mean, like, his life could be so, like, and that's the other thing too. It's the dichotomy of, like, on the one hand, it's like, okay, he clearly has a crippling gambling addiction. Like, there's no denying that. I mean, he can deny it all he wants, but we all know it's true. And, we all point to WWE champions, and I always contend, there's no way that's the only game he plays. He plays other stuff too, but he's just been better at hiding his tracks.
Yeah. And
if he just took that out, he has so few, expenses. He has no kids. He's, his mortgage is so I mean, it's a bad mortgage because it's so long, but that means that just the payments are lower. You know, he could have a lot of retirement stuff set up. He could easily go and just take multiple vacations, go on that honeymoon, all this shit, but he can't, all because of this addiction. On the one hand, you feel bad because it's like, okay, it is an addiction, and yes, these game companies do things to prey on the weak, and, you know, Phil is the perfect mark for them.
Right.
But at the same time, though, it's like, yeah, but you just because you're, quote, sick or whatever doesn't give you a get out of asshole free card as well.
Of course.
And the, you know, just the fact that it's in there, and he even admits, you know, as I've even mentioned here in the video, like, he knows that what he's doing is bad. He knows he's addicted because he talks just like that, you know, recovering alcoholic, the one who keeps falling off the wagon. But Phil, there's no wagon. Phil's never been on the wagon.
He would save so much if he said, I will leave this game alone, or all of these games, for 1 month. Imagine how much money he would be able to put away for something else.
I mean, he could easily have paid off. I mean, he should be paying, what is it? He should be finally just chipping away at the principal of his mortgage at this point. He's not even doing that. He's still paying off interest, I think.
Jesus.
And just making other things. Like, he has like it was like a 6-year loan on a fucking Corolla. It's like, you know, not to knock Corollas, but like, you don't get a fucking 6-year loan on one of those. And that was after he had to get rid of the Beamer.
Oh yeah. It's sorry. It's so bad. It's so bad. I wouldn't want to be him. He says people are jealous of him. Yo.
Well, I mean, okay, look, like, would I like to be able to make his money doing what he does? When I say what he does, I mean just like playing games and taking in donations and being able to have like the base thing of having to make my own schedule, and my thing is playing games and you know, hang out with people on the internet every day and getting paid 6 figures for it. Yeah, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah.
But everything else, though, fuck no. Like not having a life, having a family, all those things. Like even like when I was on vacation, like I really got to, you know, spend. Not that I was ignoring them, obviously, but you know, being able to be relaxed and spend time with my kids, and then not even thinking about Phil. And it's like, you know, this is what life is. You know, he does not have that. He is just, you know, he's put himself into this corner to where it's literally just, you know, the thing that he made is, you know, they always say, if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. Well, he did love doing this, but now all it is just work. It's literally just, he's just doing it to not be living on the street.
Yeah, exactly.
And at that point, it just totally, I mean, at that point, it's like there's no point in even playing the games. I mean, it's like me with competitive modes. Like, to me, well, I have nothing against people like playing games competitively, like ranked or things like that. But to me, it's like, okay, well, now I'm not doing it for fun. I'm doing it to win. Right. I play games for fun. Like, obviously, yes, I want to win. But if I lose, it's like, oh, well, I lost. As opposed to if you're doing it competitive, then not only did you lose and fuck up, you probably got some teammates who are pissed at you too. And it's like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
and with him, it's just like, it's just all, and I think it's part of the reason too why he's trying to branch out more for React stuff and things like that, because he's just getting tired of playing games. He's clearly not enjoying it anymore.
Yeah.
He's trying to do anything. I mean, for Christ's sakes, like his, you know, he hasn't changed his streaming window, but he keeps adding time. Like, does he have like a fucking 2-hour podcast now? Like, yes. That's 2 hours of just like, that's 2 hours that could easily be wrapped up in 10 minutes, or if you want to be, you know, whatever, a half hour at the most, a half hour. But instead he's using like an hour, 2 hours every day to just talk. Because he'd rather do that than actually play the game.
He's talking about food, he's talking about movies, he's talking about people he's jealous of.
Yeah, it's just vapid shit.
What we ate today.
Like I could go into so many stories about like stuff I did with like my wife, you know, my wife and my kids and my grandfather. You know, we got to go to the beach. Like just like last week, I lived more than he's lived in like 3 years, or since I've been following him regularly. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Just because I got to go out, not have to work, you know, have different experiences, have fun with my family. He hasn't had anything like that in God knows how long.
What would you like to see happen to him ultimately?
Get off the internet and get like a real job. Mm-hmm. You know, like clearly staying on the internet for whether for profit or for socializing is just not worth it anymore. Like no good is going to come of it. Like it's just going like there's no real, as I've said this also too about like there's no like good ending for it. Like okay, it's either he's going to continue living this utterly miserable life and pissing off and fucking over, you know, whoever he can just to not stay homeless, or it's like, so even if people get back, oh, I'm pissed, he still can go and do this thing. It's like he's still living in hell. Even if he's on the internet, he's living in hell. He doesn't want to admit it, but his life is hell. Indeed. And so we can go and say, oh, he's beating the trolls. No, he's not, because we're not living the life he is. You know, we may be jealous of the money, but that's it. None of us are jealous of the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess the S+ ending would be he gets offline, he gets a real job, and then no one hears from him again. But I know there's some people who want him to, you know, end up on the street or in jail, whatever. To me, it's like, no, just I'm not going to cry if I find out that he's being brought to justice for, you know, filing false DMCAs knowingly and lying to the IRS, but I'm not going to be upset, you know. I'm not pulling for it because I don't believe in pulling for something bad to happen to someone, even if they do deserve it, because then it's, you know, there's so many better things you can do with your time. And then on a side note, I'm sorry, I'm watching the video again. You realize like half the things I sourced in this don't exist anymore because of that copyright shit?
Ah.
Like these clips from Ann, you know, he got yeeted. There was stuff from David Davidson, that's gone.
Yo.
Mighty D stuff is gone. I'm like, and I tell these source people are gonna go for the thing. It's like, hey, asshole, half of this shit for all we know you made up.
Jeez, oh man. If you haven't already, watch this episode here. The story of one of the worst fundraisers in Twitch history by Yourbeliefs. It's history, you know. You won't see this anywhere else. And the longer you wait, the more of this stuff here is going to be gone. If this guy has his way. So yeah. Right. One last question. And that is, are there any last words you would like to add?
I mean, honestly, like as far as Phil goes, I've barely been like, I wouldn't expect any more like Phil, like long form content like this. Like he's so, like I've kind of checked out with him, you know, especially as of late. It kind of started when the first round of copyright shit was going down, because then because I used to watch this stuff like every week on stream. I'd have people like vote and say, you know, what do we want to watch? And we'd go back and be like, oh, Phil at the screw attack thing, or Phil's hurricane adventure, or the Christmas episodes that he would do. But, you know, once all the copyright shit, I'm like, well, it probably doesn't make a good idea for me to be featuring him more. So then I stopped that and was doing other stuff. And then ever since then, like, I just have felt, I think I've had enough bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this, it's not funny anymore. It's not like the same ha-ha things. It's just like the same, like it's not even like, even though it's the same stuff, it's like the same bad stuff. It's not like, you know, something like Cobra, where yeah, almost every stream is like the one before it, but it's just like the same, it's like same silly, stupid, you know, not harming anyone but himself kind of stuff. Whereas with Phil, it's like, you know, he is manipulating the weak-minded out of their money.
Yes, that was my initial issue going into this. Sorry.
Right. So, yeah. So it was more of, Yeah, but and like even now, like when most of the discords that I'm a part of, are focused around Phil. But now it's annoying because like, well, I like talking to the people here, but I don't like talking about the main, focus of the server. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like I don't want to go and talk about Phil though, but this is like a Phil-centric thing. I also don't want to make like my own thing of like, hey, come here if you want to talk about everything but Phil. It's like, what? No, that's stupid.
Yeah.
We'll just talk in different chat rooms or something.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We are 8 episodes in. It's not looking good. It's not to say that we are going out of our way to be mean to him or criticize. It's just me personally. I just want to hear people's opinions, and they all happen to be truthful, something he needs to hear, and trouble is he's not going to listen. So on that note, I will once again say thank you to Playing with Your Beliefs. Thank you for being here. Thank you ever so much for your time.
Just one other thing, like on the way back or so, when we're in Florida, that's where we went on vacation, and there was this mall there, and they were just selling like arcade machines, but all they were was just like a built arcade with an emulator in it, like a MAME arcade.
Yeah.
And I played some games. I played King of Fighters 2003 with my daughter on like this little like machine there. And then she's like, "Oh, Dad, I want to go and play this." So I got it for her on the Switch, and I also had it on my Steam Deck. And so literally then we were on the flight home from Florida. Mm-hmm. We were both playing King of Fighters, like trying to like go and figure out how to play and like pass off tips and things like that. She's on the Switch, I'm on the deck, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is like, I never would have thought that I was playing games when I was her age."
I know.
And she's 10. I never thought that I would, get older and like, 30 years later, I would be doing like playing games with my kids,
right?
Or that they'd want to play with me, because, everyone from our era, parents almost never played video games because they were so primitive back then. So they didn't see it. They didn't grow up with video games like my generation has. So, like that kind of stuff, like, Phil is never going to experience, never going to experience that level of joy.
Definitely
to truly share the thing that he loves with someone else. And even like also like last night, and then I'll let this thing end so it's not just turning into a fucking thing about my kids.
No, that's cool.
Like my kids wanted me to play Genshin with them.
Yeah.
So like I downloaded and we were like all in the room playing on the thing, and even like I decided to put on my PS5, and then I did a group text. I'm like, "Hey, I need some help with Genshin." My kids ran downstairs and they were like, teach me how to play, because I don't know if you played Genshin, but if you don't know what you're doing, like nothing makes any fucking sense. They don't properly explain anything, but they're going and like, "Oh, you should get this guy. Oh, you need to get this better type of pull, like this, that, and the other." And it's like, okay, I can't make a living off of playing games, but you know what though? It's still living though. This is truly living, and what he has is not that.
Exactly.
So that for like all of our detractors, they probably don't need to be reminded how much better their life is in Phil's, but just the kind of things like that. It's always a nice breath of fresh air. Have we heard him one time say, "Oh, I played this with my wife"? It's always, "Oh, I watched her play."
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, who the fuck wants to watch their wife play Skyrim? Like, okay, we'll do that instead of, I don't know, playing anything together.
Right.
I mean, you have 2 consoles. You could even go and like play co-op on like the same team, but it's just. Well, we could go on for another hour about the whole cat-Phil dynamic.
That's what Dominic said too in his interview. We could talk about this guy for a very long time, and Dominic and I will be doing another episode if he's still up for it. I noticed that I kind of I started something here, and anybody that's been on this so far, if you want to do this again, I am more than happy to do it. There are topics we haven't touched, and I'm open to it whenever you are. So, with that, I will say that's the end of the questioning. That's the end of my line of interrogation today with your beliefs. And thank you to him. Thank you to everyone in the chat. And I'll allow you to get on and have yourself a very nice day.